Hey everybody! Welcome to Wendy Bones Tarot. This is your Sunday special, the Pick a Card series. So today we're going to look at what is coming in the week ahead. Specifically, we're going to look at some important characters or opportunities and how we should approach this or talk to these personalities or characters. And then we'll get an oracle card for any additional information. So we're going to use Druidcraft, Dragon Tarot, and the Gypsy Oracle. So I'll pull 3 piles. I'm just going to shuffle. Get 3 cards from the Dragon Tarot. And finally, an oracle for each of the piles. So I have not seen what the piles hold. I don't know what the cards say. Alright, so that's it. Pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. Have your question ready. Alright, pile 1. The ferret. 10 of Wands and money. Wow. So for those of you who've chosen pile 1, there's definitely a story here about being in the creative flow, and you're working really hard, but I think what you're doing has a very specific purpose. And you really enjoy this work. It is a lot of work with the 10 of Wands, but this is a process that is necessary and it's enjoyed because we see the ferret or the Temperance card here making gold, basically. This is the alchemist who is using 2 different properties or compounds to create a new product. And when we see money come up with the Temperance card, you're going to strike gold. So I think for some of you too, this has been a matter of patience, right? Like you've just been doing your work, working your little buns off as hard as you could, putting in all of your effort, and finally in this week ahead, congratulations, because it starts to come in, you're making the money, and as you start to see this return, as you start to see this return, you realize that you have something good, you have something valuable, you start to see the proof that what you're working on pays off, and it's something that will be worth putting more effort into the future. I think some of you have a very careful decision to make as well. It kind of seems like you're weighing up the options or considering what the worth of your time is versus the monetary return, and maybe having to make some kind of sacrifice. Like, you believe, sometimes this can happen where you believe that what you did, it does have a lot of value because of the effort you've put in, but sometimes there's an element of sacrifice where if you detract or subtract the value a little bit so that you can charge less, it becomes more affordable. You may find that you actually get more clients or customers when you offer a cheaper price, even though it's not necessarily the price you end up charging doesn't necessarily reflect what you believe you're worth. But you have to be aware that the creative process in itself, or the production process, I think is what you really enjoy. You kind of enjoy the process of being active in this creation. And so that you have to recognize that the process is part of the enjoyment itself, and part of the payoff is getting to do that work every day. So that's pile 1. Right, pile 2. Cernunnos. The King of Wands and Death. The Devil, the King of Wands, and Death. We have a situation on our hands here. Okay, this is a big personality. Big personality. I think someone's being very territorial. Someone is kind of stepping in and declaring that they're not going to put up with this anymore. What I actually see is a fight for territory, or a fight for boundaries. You know, there's a very bold expression, and I think a very loud conversation. The King of Wands could represent the spokesperson who's the spokesperson for your cause, or someone who's representing you, or a member of the team, or even a friend, like someone who has maybe the voice or the presence to be loud enough to get someone's attention and to really facilitate change. Now, there's going to be something coming up this week where you may encounter someone you don't like someone may have bad intentions, or you just get a bad feeling about them, right? Cernunnos is like this. He's a beast, but he's got human qualities, and he kind of uses his ability to connect with humans, like manipulate them by presenting more of his human form. So you can see that he's a creature of the woods. He's Pan. He's the god of the woods. And he's almost being a little bit territorial in this card, where he's like, who are these people? Why are you here? It's almost like he's showing up to teach them a lesson, or show them some boundaries, or teach them about the constraints or the boundaries of something. Now Saturn is entering Aquarius on the 21st of March. So this is going to be a profound transit for the next couple of months. We're going to feel the glimpse of what it will be like when Saturn moves into Aquarius for good at the end of 2020. So Saturn is going to spend 2021, 2022, and the first couple months of 2023 in Aquarius, which is talking largely about the structures of groups and associations. Aquarius is the 11th house, has to do with our friends, our hobbies, classes, humanitarian efforts, volunteer, right? Like all the places you choose to be that are outside of your work or your family. And so Saturn comes in to bring this necessary boundary and rules to kind of figure out how to organize everybody so that this group runs efficiently. There's a strong leader coming in, and I think he's going to be the facilitator of change. Typically, I'm going to say this person is born in the winter months, like definitely Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn. Or this could represent the finalizing of something that you've been waiting on since Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn season. Another thing I'll say, Mars is in Capricorn. Mars is currently in Capricorn until the end of March. So it has been activating all of these changes and activating all these decisions and things that we were kind of presented with during the conjunction, the eclipses, all this heavy stuff at the beginning of 2020. So now is kind of the time where we feel the go-ahead. You know, we're entering Aries season. It's the beginning of the new year, the new zodiac year. We have the equinox coming up, and the retrograde is over. We've just had a full moon. So there's this feeling of confidence that comes forward, this knowledge of where you're going, and not so much looking at this as a limitation, but as a container that you can work within to achieve the reward or the benefit. This is also Jupiter and Capricorn energy. It's important to remember that for 2020, the planet of blessings and abundance and joy and wealth and luck It's, Jupiter is very generous because it has good faith and faith in the world. But in Capricorn, it wants you to clip coupons. It wants you to save your money. It wants you to budget, only spend the money when it's in your pocket. So there seems to be some kind of shift or change to the very organization of your life, of your routine, of your finances, and of an organization itself. But I really see an opportunity for somebody to boldly stand up and express, I'm not going to take this anymore. I'm only willing to take this, or I'm only willing to accept this. And if you can't meet my demands, then we don't have a deal. I think for some of you too, you're feeling the constraints of 2020 because it's been quite an interesting start to the year, where I find that time has elasticized, and it's going to continue to feel this way throughout the rest of the year because like all the retrogrades, and then Mars spends like the last half of the year basically in Aries, kind of going retrograde, going direct, going retro, like it's this feeling of all these little transits. It's making the year feel quite elasticized. And sometimes in moments of chaos, or this could be a very liberating, exploratory time for some of you, where you're wanting to make changes to your appearance as an expression of liberation. So changes to the appearance, getting ready for spring, the closet clean out, all that stuff, welcoming new fresh air. I think some of you are actually breaking free of any bonds of winter or the season we've just come from, and looking forward to the equinox with a new, fresh perspective. And group 3, we have 7 of Swords, 5 of Cups, and Sorrow. I'm so sorry. Someone is really lost in thought. I think, for a lot of us, the retrograde in water is speaking of reflection and feelings, reflecting on why we feel the way that we do, and kind of looking at how much time we spend in those phases. This may be a slow-moving, sorrowful week for some of you, where there's big changes. I mean, there's big life changes. We're all in a year of foundation and setting new foundations and new beginnings, and wanting to move forward with authenticity and personal power. But there can be great sorrow that comes from saying goodbye to the life that you knew, saying goodbye to that version of yourself that you knew, saying goodbye to the place you called home for so long, saying goodbye to relationships that you held on to, but that weren't really fulfilling. I think someone is trying to escape this week from lingering in this emotional state. There seems to be a lingering emotional hangover where you're feeling grief, you're feeling tired. Your sorrow may even be affecting your physical health. You might feel stagnant. Now, when I look at the sorrow card, for those of you who've seen my artwork and probably watched my readings, you know that sorrow is a big theme, because I think it's something really powerfully beautiful that is a necessary part of life. And it sounds corny, but it's because it helps us to appreciate the beautiful things in life. And sorrow is one of those extremely powerful emotions that can really keep us in one place for a long time. And what I'm feeling is this is someone who's recognizing that they've spent, I think you're getting to the point where you've spent enough time in sorrow, and you're kind of realizing that it leaves you with disappointment, or it leaves you with a feeling of unfulfillment ultimately. And so you're kind of deciding, you know what, I've spent enough time like this, it's not really helping me get anywhere, and really what I'm doing is just holding space for something that's not even here anymore. Now, there are all different things that we can mourn in life. We can mourn a place we used to live. We can mourn a relationship or a lost friendship. We can mourn, you know, if you're retired, you may be mourning the years where you had a career and you would show up every day and contribute to a team every day, right? Like there's all this sorrow, but of course it can come from real, true grief, missing somebody. Be careful you don't make any hasty moves out of grief or sorrow. Sometimes grief brain can affect us in a funny way. It can really mess with our emotions, right? Like we don't interpret things the right way. We can be defensive or fearful because we're needing to heal. And so what I recommend when I see the Seven of Swords, I see this person who is scholarly. Chances are you like to travel, you enjoy the freedom of the road. And if you're having one of those stagnant afternoons, you know, I find like sometimes Saturday can be kind of a depressing day, or even Sunday, because there's a quietness, and you know, you have the impression that everyone else is kind of out doing something or spending time with loved ones. And if you are in a place of sorrow and you can't really take part in those jovial weekend activities, what you can do to escape yourself, escape this stagnancy or this, you know, I'm just sitting in my own puddle forever. Get up, get out, go for a drive, take the train, take the bus, go see something, get out of the situation for a while. The Seven of Swords, he has to solve a problem, and the problem is this, how do I get out of this residual longing, this residual pain? Free yourself, first of all. Remove yourself physically from the memories. Maybe even, for some of you who may be missing a relationship, I find that an easy way to get over things is to actually like physically, ceremoniously cut up photographs or cut up like little tokens or memories or like letters, like things that you keep, right? This is about liberating yourself. You know, in other decks, the Seven of Swords is depicted as a person running away. And I think that's so powerful because the Seven of Swords talks about the need for you to take matters into your own hands, which can also be a very sad and isolating thing if you are grieving, because you kind of realize that you are alone in this, right? Other people are missing that person if you've experienced real loss. But ultimately, we're all just inside our own heads, right? So you can connect, but ultimately you have to rely on yourself to pull yourself up out of this. And I think it's very possible. I say this because I think it's very possible with the Seven of Swords. That's about taking matters into your own hands and taking off for a little bit. Get some fresh air. Take an adventure. Go have some fun. See some sights. You know, take in some new information, some new stimuli, and you'll start to replace the memories with new experiences and new things to look forward to. New information. Your brain needs new information. So even just picking up a book, you know, getting lost in someone else's story is a great way to begin to work through this feeling. For me, it's creative. I love to draw and write and go for walks through sorrowful places. And it's interesting because when you go through a place, when I talk about sorrowful place, like a cemetery, you're kind of like, oh my gosh, like all these headstones, all these people who have families that miss them and think about them and mourn them, you know? It's like so many other people have felt this. I don't feel as alone anymore. It's been a heavy year. Eclipses, Jupiter in Capricorn, conjunction in Capricorn. There's a lot of heavy, heavy astrological energy that is affecting us here on planet Earth. And there are moments of sorrow. But just be careful that you don't linger too long in this, okay? You may miss out on some opportunities. Now take, of course, with real grief, I mean, take all the time you need. But I feel that with the Seven of Swords, someone is deciding to get up out of there. So this looks like a very decisive week for many of us. People are making changes, we're dropping things, closing chapters, and there seems to be a theme of ending this week. And I do think it has a lot to do with that full moon we've just had in Virgo, and we're moving into Aries season, the beginning of the new zodiac year, which brings for a lot of us hope and reinvigoration. So we begin to move forward, but we must close out these chapters and honor them appropriately. Make peace, have closure, and move on. So thank you for those of you who watched, and I'll see you next time.